transition that actually came back and didn't interrupt a whole lot. And dupe. And come on, restore. Please restore. Twitch is restored. YouTube. Come on, YouTube. Restore. Come on. Okay. Let's see here. Do I get the people back? Hold on. Okay, so that's working. That's working. Um, I accidentally killed the stream, and I apologize. Okay. So hopefully people make it back. I did not mean to do that. That was my bad. I gotta change around my Steam Deck or Stream Deck buttons. I had them the end stream and the transition scene right next to each other, and I hit the wrong button. So I apologize for that. Let me just make sure there's no one else. Yeah. There we go. I see some people coming back over. So again, I apologize. I hit the wrong button. The scene transition and the stop streaming button I put right next to each other in my Stream Deck, which probably not a great idea. I should probably rearrange those so that that doesn't happen anymore going forward. But going back to what I'm actually going to build here, I want to jump over here and show some examples. This is the old HeroQuest I grew up with. It got me into like Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff when I was younger. You know, it's a board game. You explore, you roll dice, you move your miniatures, explore the rooms. You got some doors and stuff like that as you explore. It was a real simple system, and it was pretty straightforward. And it really, you know, between my brother and I, this is what got us into Dungeons and Dragons a lot, because there was only two of us. You couldn't really play D&D with just two of us, so we played a lot of Heroes Quest when it was just him and I, you know, like at my dad's for the summer, just hanging out, the two of us. So it was a great board game. I really loved it. I don't know how well it holds up. I've been trying to play it with my son lately. It's not too bad, but it doesn't hold up quite the same way I remember it. Who knows? If you ask my son, maybe he thinks it's awesome. The other thing I want to use is the Dungeons and Dragons adventure system, where you draw tiles, and that's how you form the dungeon. So it's not really procedural, but it's random based, and so you draw the tiles and you lay them out, and that's how it builds the dungeon. I've already done a game like this, and if we jump over here, Graph Paper Gauntlet that I published for a game jam over on Itch. Basically, as you wander around, it draws these tiles and just puts them in place. So I've already done something along those lines, and so I kind of want to combine both the D&D adventure system and something simple like Heroes Quest. The D&D adventure system is pretty simple, but it's also coming from someone who's a diehard D&D person, and so there's a lot of stuff in there that I think could be simplified. Like, we don't need +1 for this, +1 for that, +6 for this, you know, whatever. And it just comes down to Hero Quest, roll X number of dice for your attack. So I'm thinking something simplified along those lines. So I've already kind of done the tile draw procedure stuff. I've already been familiar with that. I'm also going to be using, let me go back over here to, let's say, the Dungeon Fodder game that I already made. So I'm going to be using the same assets, which apparently I don't have exactly right here in this. I use the same assets for Pandora's Dice. So let's go here. This will give us a picture here. So it's going to be assets that look a lot like this that I'm going to be using for this. So the exact same tile layout. I want to make it work with the tile layers so that I can get the full walls instead of just this one high. I think for right now, I'm just going to go with the one high, just trying to get the tile maps and stuff working. So that's going to be the general idea. Coming back to everything else, my idea for this entire series, this stream, is I want to build a shippable game. I'm going to spend exactly 100 hours on this. It sounds like a lot of time when you're starting, but if you've been building games for a little bit, 100 hours is nothing. If you think about it in terms of work weeks, that's 2.5 work weeks, 100 hours. It's not a whole lot of time. So with that, part of that 100 hours is going to be planning. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube where people go, here's how you build a game. Here's how you build a roguelike. Here's how you build a platformer. And it gets you right into Godot and you start building. And you start adding all these different systems and stuff like that. But it kind of skips over the planning. I know Michael Games did a great stuff with the Metroidvania Forge series, where he laid out in the beginning, like a chapter 0 of, here's the plan. Here's the arcing what we're going to do, how we're going to build things. But I want to kind of start with mine of going back from very get-go. I haven't done anything. I've had the idea in my head and I've been wanting to do it forever, but I've resisted because it's like, I want to do this live on stream. I don't want to start building something and then jump in and go, hey, come join me, watch me build a game that I've already half built. So I wanted to show the entire process from beginning to end. I'm an old school, I like to write things down on here. This is my Void Recall, my planning. This was all the enemies for Void Recall. And so I was going to do a brand new one, totally blank page, for Dungeon Fodder Tiles and start from the get-go. This is not very fun for you guys on stream, so I'm not going to do this on stream. I'm going to actually use OneNote instead so that we can all see everything that's being typed. But that's normally my process. I write everything down on paper. The other thing I've already got, and this I think is going to help me a lot when it comes to designing the tiles, is I still have my notes back from when I did the graph paper gauntlet. I still have all of the tiles designed. If you kind of see this, I don't know how well it's focusing, but I've got all the tiles designed in their orientations. So I've got a general idea of where to start. So I've kind of got a few things that I can save for myself. I've done some experiments in the past of trying to get a tile-based movement working, some A-star navigation. So I have some experience in doing this stuff. But what I want, again, to focus on, especially here in the beginning, is the actual planning. How are we going to plan this? And I want to, I'm a network engineer. I run a lot of projects at work. And so I'm very used to setting up a project, saying, here's our scope, here's our milestone breakdowns and stuff like that. I've, studied project management when I was getting my master's degree. So I have some experience with that. So I kind of want to show you what my process is. May not be your process, but this is what my process is going to be. Got some coffee in the morning to help us get going. So with that, I have also created my own personal home tracker system that I run on my local server. And I've created a project for it, Dungeon Fodder Tiles. I haven't done anything else with it yet. I have my own personal Kanban board. So if we go to Dungeon Fodder Tiles, you see I haven't built... I've got to hit transition. Sorry about that. This is my personal home server. So I just call it Time Tracker. I come in here, I can keep track of how much time I'm spending on things. So I've set up several projects. I've been working on a Castlevania remake. I track my teaching work through this. My other game that I have out there that I'm selling right now, Word Search Anthology. Haven't made a lot of money on that, but I've sold about 27 copies. So hey, I've sold games. I can say that. And tracking my YouTube stuff that I'm doing. Technically, this should be like a YouTube, but it's going to be devoted to this. So I have my Kanban board, and I can select which project I'm looking at. If this is my Castlevania remake, teaching work, all my projects, so I can see what I have to do. So this is going to be how I break down my task when I sit down and actually build stuff. And then I've got just basic, reporting here for charts, so you can see where I've spent time on videos and stuff like that. This is all my own personal tracking, and if you've seen some of my older videos, I was trying to set up, trying to establish how much money, am I making versus how much am I spending when it comes to game dev. And so I just wanted to get all studded up. Wow, can't talk anymore. But that's where I am. That's what the plan is. So let's jump on over into the actual planning process. And let's see here. So let's jump over here. We're going to make our dungeon fodder tiles. Oops. Okay. So we got that. We want... That's fine. We don't need this. Okay. Close that off. Okay. Close this down. Okay. And I think we're just about ready. Let's start some work here. Let me get one more thing going. One moment. Okay. So, with this, let's see. Let's set up our... We need to define our game before we do too much else. Oh, I need to transition over here. So let's define our game. We got dungeon fodder tiles. Let's do... I'm going to do 10-hour breakdowns. So let's establish, what are we going to do? And you know what? I want to start this. We're going to start the timer right now. So let's get back over here. Timer. We're going to start our timer. We're starting dungeon fodder tiles right now. 100 hours. This is starting at this very exact moment. So 10:15 a.m. on May 7th. So start. Here goes our timer. What are we working on? Design. Okay, save. Okay, so let's go back over here. Let's close out of this. Let's go back. Okay, so let's see here. We have 100 hours. Let's work on our milestones. Milestones. Okay, so for our 0 to 10 hours, 0-10. Let's do let's establish our foundation design for 10 to 20. Oops, 10 to 20. Let's see, what are we going to do for 10 to 20? Let's foundation design. So this will be like getting the tiles set up, making sure everything's working there, making sure all the what's it called? I can draw and place tiles. They get oriented. I'm thinking I'm also probably going to build a tool so I can actually design the tiles, because I'm going to start with just a handful, but I'd like to eventually make it so that there's even more of them. So let's go back and we'll work on foundation design, getting that basic tile stuff here. So then in this one, let's work on movement, spawning, and how about spawning with an N, and turns. Because I want this to be a board game, everybody takes turns. So let's do that. Let's actually do this up here. Okay, we got that. Oops, wrong button. Okay. And I've lost my cursor again. There it is. Okay. Minimize this. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. So for 20 to 30, let's see. Let's do so we're going to have foundation design, movement, spawning, turns. Let's make this the combat. So 20 to 30 hours. We're going to get the combat going and basic gameplay. Okay. And then 30 to 40. Let's think about this. What we need to do. These are very super fast, and this is insane amount of time to get the stuff done, because 0 to 10 hours. Again, that's a one work day. That's it. It's just over one work day. So let's see here, 30 to 40. Let's. This is where we're gonna set up our heroes. We're gonna build through and exactly define what that means. Right now, I'm thinking like 4 heroes. That's it. We probably want to also add in monsters here, and I may kick this one down, but let's do abilities right now. Okay, and then 40 to 50. This is going to be like a big milestone for us. We want to make sure the entire game plays. We can do a dungeon run. So let's do a complete run. So we can start the dungeon, we can play through the dungeon, and everything will work. Let's say 50 to 60 hours. Let's see. Let's do... I'm just doing a quick reference guide that I saw someone else, another YouTuber, make. So let's do a 50 to 60. Let's establish this as our playtest and feature lock. And when we say like feature lock, we mean like we're not going to add any new systems to this. This is all going to be, these are what the abilities the barbarian's going to have. These are what different creatures and stuff like that are going to be able to do. We're not going to add any more stuff to this beyond whatever we lock into the feature. Because if we do that, our scope's going to grow out of control. We're going to keep going, oh, let's do this. Let's tweak this. Let's add in this new tile set. Let's add in a new way to generate, a dungeon, or let's add in 3 new tiles or something like that. And that introduces new bugs. That introduces a lot of new things. So we don't want to add that stuff in yet. So let's see. And then 60 to 70, let's do, this is going to be like fixes. We're going to do, bugs and balancing. So we want to make sure that, we get our damage stuff right. Because it's a lot easier to tweak with a D&D adventure style where we do, hey, it's +1, +2, whatever, and here's an AC that we have to roll against, things like that. If I do go down the path of HeroQuest, it's like, hey, how many dice should the longsword be? How many dice should a dagger be? We could maybe change the number of faces on the dice if we use the HeroQuest dice, for example. So it could be a couple different things that we can kind of tweak there. We're not adding anything new. We might be removing things, but we're not going to add anything at this point. And then 70 to 80. Let's see. Let's add. Let's focus on our audio on this one and polish. Audio and polish. So this is going to be where we're going to try to make things look better. Add in special effects. Let's do that here in polish. Special effects, things like spells and stuff like that. We're going to add that in here because all that's going to be is just visual flair. It's not going to be a whole lot of, it's not going to change how the game plays. The gameplay is already going to be locked in. We're just going to make it look better and more enjoyable to play. 80 to 90, we're getting very close to being done. So let's do here. Let's do one more bug squash. And then, because I haven't done this before, and I know a lot of YouTubers who have published to Steam said, hey, getting that Steam store page up takes a lot more effort and time than I anticipated. And I kind of, I haven't seen anybody actually go through and do it really on stream. So let's add that in. We're going to do, a Steam store page. So let's get that set up there. And then our last one is our 90 to 100 hours. This is just going to be our ship prep. Okay. So this is any last minute things we need to do. I don't want to end it with, setting up the store page, because this might be, other bugs that we come across, or we go, oh, wow, this needs to change. I need some more hours for this. I want to do kind of like Aramis had, where when he talks about when he shipped a game about feeding the black hole, he took that last week before launch and just played games and just relaxed because he had everything done. So I'm going to try to have everything done by hour 90. and then go from there. The key aspect for hitting any of these milestones, so this 100-hour milestone, is going to be making sure we define our scope and that we don't miss anything in our scope. Because if we miss anything in our scope, or go scope creep, go past things, then that's going to really make us miss stuff. So we got to make sure we trim everything down and make sure we hit our targets correctly. So this is going to be our rough milestone. So right now, foundation design. I'm not going to count because what I intend to do is these 10 hours that I'm going to stream, you're going to be able to go back through and watch this entire process from, all 100 hours if you so choose, and see everything I do to get this done. Hopefully 90 to 100 hours is going to be a very boring stream, but it could very well just be me scrambling to try to hit the 100-hour deadline because I didn't bake enough time in other things. So let's see here. Let's go down and let's try to figure out what we're going to do for each thing. So let's go back here. Let's break these down. Let's put these in. Yeah, let's make them bullet pointed with numbers. Okay, so what are we going to do in here? Let's set up establish our tile designs. Okay, and what I mean by that, this is like, tile design data. How about that? So this is going to be like, are we using JSON? Are we going to use a resource? What are we going to use to define the tile itself? Right now I'm thinking my general idea is going to be I'm going to be using a tile map with auto tiling to try to get the walls and everything to look nice. The way I did it with graph paper gauntlets, each one of those tiles is a scene, and when it's drawn, I just rotate the scene, which works fine because it's a top-down tile set. What I'm going to be using for this is more of like a slightly slanted isometric tile set. So what I'm going to use is the auto tile. So I'm going to read JSON data to say which terrain is it, and then that gets loaded in or rotated as it needs to, and then gets loaded into the system. And I'll show you an example from my idea testing what that might roughly look like. So, whoops, I just realized I wrote Ryle, not tile. And you know what I should probably do? I should probably make this bigger so that it can be seen better on stream. Because I always forget, I'm using a 1440p monitor. So sometimes it's a little harder to see. Let's see, what else do we need to do in here? I'm going to put build tile tool. And then this, I don't know if I'm going to actually do or not. I've kind of built a similar one in one of my idea testing. I don't know if I'm going to actually use this or not, but we'll see. Let's see, what else here? This tile design data, I'm just going to put, just for my own schema, just so then we know. Let's see, what else do we need? We need that. We need the tile map. We should probably build out the tile map itself. Tile map scene. We need to do... Oh, before you even do any of that, we need to go back up here. We need to actually define the game. Okay? In here, how many heroes are there? Number of heroes. What monsters? Wow, I cannot type today. Saved my life. Jeez. Making efficient use of my 100 hours already. So combat flow, what is our, established scope? Okay, this is going to be the key thing. So we're going to go over afterwards and we're going to define that stuff next. We're going to build the tile tool, tile map scene. Is there anything else we need to do here? Figure out edge detection and how we want to do that. So I think the last thing I want to do is I want to establish the end. So, what's the end of this milestone? And that's going to be when we can put tiles can be drawn from stack and placed next and placed in position. We'll just say position. POSITI1. There we go. So then if it's, gets to the end, we rotate, we place it as it needs to be. So that's going to be the end of our first 10 hours is when we hit that marker. So down here, movement, spawning turns, we're going to have to establish in here, hero movement. So let's do hero movement. And this is going to come back down to, how's our system going to work? Is it going to be you get 2 actions? You can do 2 attacks, a move and attack, or a double move. Something simple like that. We got to figure out the hero movement. Let's just do hero action system. So then we can figure that out. And then we need to establish a enemy. I'm going to borrow a term from Michael. Decision engine. So then it'll be, if you've ever played like the D&D adventure games, it has the monster say, if this is the case, if a hero is within 1 tile, attack the hero. If the hero's within 2 tiles, move up and attack. If it's more than 3 tiles, or more than 2 tiles away, moves 1 tile closer. Just a very basic decision of check this first, check this, and just kind of have that simple flow to then determine, what that monster is going to do. And then we need to add in a game manager so that we can keep control of the game. So let's see. Let's do an end condition for this. Is going to be something along the lines of, monster spawns. Monster spawns added to, I don't know if we're going to do a turn initiative that's going to be based on turns. And we'll just say added to turn order. And units can move. Can move around board. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so let's see here. Combat and basic stuff here. So we need to add in, the combat resolution. Okay, and then what we need here with this, let's add in we've got the enemy decision engine here. I have a feeling that some of this is probably going to be the monster AI is probably going to roll over into this. Because we'll work on the heroes, getting them working first, and then we'll worry about the monsters. Combat. We got to handle death. We got to figure out how to do death of monsters and the heroes. We got to be able to handle that appropriately. What else do we need to do? We need to do. We need to figure out a reward system. This is going to go back to our scope. Do we want to award like treasure based on defeating the monster? Do we want to do like the Hero's Quest system where it's once the room's cleared, then you're like, hey, here's the flag, the room's been cleared, now you can search it. That is because we're drawing with tiles, I don't think the room clear is going to work. So let's add in here, let's do treasure awards. So we're going to have to, I think what's going to happen in the end is we're going to skew a lot more towards the Dungeons and Dragons adventure system style, because it's just going to be a lot easier mechanically to do that. Let's see, what else here do we have? Is there anything else we need for this? We got the turn flow already. Let's make sure we add turn advancement. that should probably happen in the previous one, but let's just make sure we include it here. So then if it's not done in that first, in the 10 to 20 hour window, we do it in this one. So let's set up our end condition here. What is our end? So what we want to do is we want to have the players be able to explore, fight, and let's add spawn in here. Spawn, fight, and then an award. Okay, so that's the end of this combat. They can fight, they get a reward. Let's put reward instead of award. Reward. Okay. So that's going to be the end of that one. Okay, so heroes, monsters, and abilities. This one's going to be a little bit easier. Because this one's going to be, we need to establish who are... Did I mess up my numbering here? 1, 2, 3... Oh, yeah, I did. There we go. Let's see here. Whoops. I did the numbers. There we go. Let's see here. What do we want in heroes, monsters, and abilities? So we need to define, build, hero, abilities. Let's build out all monsters. And we're going to need monster abilities as well, because some of them are going to have some abilities. What else we need here? We need to be able to use it. So build ability system. So we need to have something that's going to be, especially if they're going to be like buffs or things along those lines. We need to have a way to track that stuff. If it's like next attack you get advantage, you can roll more dice, or something along those lines. We need to make sure we have that ability system. Let's see what else we need in here. Oh, back here on turns. Game manager. We need to set up our turn style, STYLE, because we need to figure out, are we going to just do like Heroes Quest is, select any of any of the 4 heroes, move once all of them have moved, and then go to the enemy turn, or are we going to be more like a initiative style like D&D of, okay, it's this person's turn, now it's this monster's turn, then this turn, and this turn. We have a set established order. I have a feeling I'm probably going to lean towards that, because that's just me as a D&D player. And it's going to be a lot easier, I think, for us to track. But we'll come back to that. Okay, is there anything else we need here? I think this is going to be time for an end of this phase. End. Okay, and then this is going to be the 4 here. The heroes, probably, like I said, it's probably going to be 4, but the heroes feel differently, or let's call it behave. Behave, BEHAVE, uniquely, because no sense in having 5 fighters. Heroes behave uniquely, as do the monsters. Okay. Yeah, that's a good summary. So we know we've got the monsters all built out. We've got the abilities. Things feel different. If you're fighting a skeleton versus a goblin, they may not have a whole lot of difference, unless you have something like, in D&D, the skeletons have the, what do they call that? Undead resilience, where basically unless you crit them or do more than X damage, they don't die. They just keep going. Undead fortitude. That's what it's called in D&D. Took me a second to remember that, but let's see. So 5 is going to be pretty simple. This is going to be a complete run, so we would need to make sure that we can get through the entire game. So let's just establish the end right now. Start, play, and complete a map. We'll keep calling it a run. So that's going to be pretty simple and pretty straightforward on that one. I don't know if we have any additional steps we're going to need in this. This is going to be more of a cleanup phase of getting everything done that we need to get done. Oh, you know what we can add in here? Let's add in win-loss conditions, or win-loss screens, we'll call it. I don't know if we want... Because again, this is going to come back to the scope. You know, the D&D adventure system, you get gold, you can buy other gear in town. Heroes Quest kind of has that too. You can kind of keep the cards that you drew from run to run. I don't know, for this being so small scoped, how much we want to add into that roguelike stuff to keep going forward. But we'll address that here. What else do we need? We need a... Oh, you know what we need? We also need an exit tile. Thinking of win-loss conditions. Exit tile, or some exit condition. You know, whether it's kill X monsters, or if it's reach this set tile, something like that. What else do we need here? We're also going to need something, and I don't know how to approach this, so we're going to put this in here, because the one thing I've noticed is we need something with an escalation mechanic of some type. Why can't... There we go. Because like with the D&D adventure thing is, if you end your turn without exploring, you get an encounter, is what they call it. And it's something to keep the game going. It could be spawning more monsters. It could be you get hit with a random arrow, you know, things like that. But it's kind of something to keep pushing the game forward. And I know with Heroes Quest, there's plenty of times, because you roll 2d6 to determine how far you can move. There are times in the game where it's like, okay, I know we have unexplored areas over there, but I'm rolling, I'm rolling double ones, I'm rolling like 4, and I need to get like 20 odd spaces. And so to try to keep the game interesting while we're just micromanaging that movement, probably what I'll have is the heroes are going to have set movement. I'm not going to make them roll to see how far they can move. But we probably are going to need some form of escalation mechanic in there to keep the game entertaining, because we don't want to hit a lull. We don't want to go, hey, everybody team up and kill the one goblin that spawned. Now we just kind of pluck around for a little bit, and then eventually come across another goblin or two or something. So we're going to have something over there that's going to affect that. Let's see. So that's that. Playtest and feature lock. I mean, this is going to be pretty easy here. We're gonna just, test it with players. I mean, that's pretty much it. And I think we're gonna lock the features after the playtest, because there might be something in there that we get feedback on that probably should not be in there, or should not keep it. So let's then lock the features. And then we'll know we hit the end of this milestone with, how do we want to say that? We'll just call it the playtest is completed. Yeah. Completed and answers reviewed. There. Okay. These ones are... Let's think here. We got to apply fixes, bugs, and balancing. It's kind of going to be a little overlapping with, hey, these things messed up my numbering again. There should be 5. I love how it does this stuff sometimes. There we go. Okay. So let's think here. Fixes and scope. I think this is going to be our big checkpoint. Are we actually at a point where we can do this type of stuff? So let's just say all must fixes are completed. Yeah, misspelled completed. Let's see, what else would you have? Balance based on playtest data. And then here's where we cut anything that will prevent us from shipping at 100 hours. So if we haven't established something at this point, this is where we cut it. You know, say we wanted to do 8 monsters, we only have 5, we cut it right here. This is going to be our cutoff point. Okay. This is going to be, let's see, audio and polish. You know, what do we need here? This, I think we might do. I don't have UI in here somewhere. We should probably have a UI. Oh, feels like it should belong in here. We'll get something basic. We'll throw it in here. Let's do UI in here. UI designed. Yeah, because I feel like if we do it later, then we've already established, you know, what do we need? Do we need, you know, melee attacks only? Is that all we designed? Because we did rogues, paladins, fighters, and, I don't know, monks, you know, something like that. Or did we do like wizards? So we have to have spells targeting, we have to have area of effect, you know, stuff like that. We'll already have that figured out of what we need based on the abilities. So then we can tweak, we can take whatever rudimentary systems we've designed when we added the abilities and make them look nice here. And then we can give the UI a polish also at the same time. And then we can do the full audio here. We need to add in music. I'm probably going to add in some audio as I go, but let's give it a, you know, sound effect pass. So then we can make sure that, you know, it's the right sound effect. You know, does the fireball sound right? You know, like I have right now with my Castlevania game, the feedback I get is, well, when you get to the fire whip, it still sounds like a leather whip. It doesn't sound like a fire whip. There's no roar to it. You know, so things like that, you know, if the barbarian or fighter or whatever it is swinging a sword and, you know, he does a giant like leap up into the air and smash into the ground, it should probably have a different sound effect than the same sound effect as a regular sword swing. So stuff like that. Then let's do we got UI, music, sound effect, and then just a general, you know, effects. How do I want to say that? Special effects. Let's just call it effects. Visual effects. Let's call it visual effects. Visual effects added / refined. Okay. And then let's see. What we're going to say the end of this phase would be. Oh, you know what we should probably do here also? Let's add in here a settings menu. Yeah. Let's add in a settings menu. I'm going to make that sub because this, you know, adjust the audio, adjust the frame rate, you know, things like that. We're going to put that in here. Okay, so let's see. At the end, we want to make sure this is we're going to just call this content complete. Because the game's going to be there. This is going to be at 80 hours. Game's going to be complete. So we want to make sure content is all there. We have all of our playable characters, all of our monsters. If there's any treasure cards or whatever we decide to do, that's all there. So let's see, what else do we need? It's probably going to be content complete. I don't want to say shippable state, but I want to say close. You know, let's do 95%. No, let's do 99% shippable state. Okay, so it means like we could put this on, say like early access or something like that, and go, hey, there may be bugs. But then in this 80 to 90 hours, we're going to do the bug squash. So we're going to go through and we're going to make sure, you know, clean up clean up the remaining bugs. And this is going to be stuff that we're probably not going to find. We're going to introduce when we add new things, stuff like that. And then we need to build the actual Steam store page. So let's see what else. We need capsule art. I'm going to put that as a subheading under Steam store page. That we... I don't believe that this game is going to be a huge seller. I need experience. I need to figure out how to put a game onto Steam. That's my goal of this game. You know, if I can sell this game, let's just use a rough number, $5. If we can sell the game at $5, I can put it onto Steam, and then I can get my, you know, it's 100 hours, $5. What would I need? I need $100. Need to make $100 to get back the Steam store page cost, and then 100 hours at my time. I don't know what's the. Let's say, you know, minimum wage. We'll say $15. So I need to make $1,600 to break even, and that's not counting art and music and stuff like that I'm probably going to buy for it. So I'm not going to break even on this game. I'm not under any delusion that I'm going to be able to make $1,600 on this. Would I be happy if it did? Awesome. No, this is a learning experience. What I'd like to do with this is build the first game. You know, if you ever played the first, and this could feel like a really weird comparison, but if you ever played the first Assassin's Creed, that game felt like a tech demo. And you're like, I see a good game here, but it's not here. And then when Assassin's Creed 2 came out, I'm like, okay, now we have a good game. I'm kind of looking at it this way of, here's the bones of a game. Here's the base system. And then from there, I want to do like Dungeon Fire Tiles 2. And then we're going to expand into more classes, more tile sets, more, you know, an ongoing quest line, you know, 14, 15 quest or something like that. So add in a lot more replayability than a single dungeon run at a time. So that's kind of like my thought process behind this is learning, full shipping, trying to make a YouTube video out of it, and then being able to push the game and say, yep, I've got a game on Steam, I've shipped it, hey, I sold 2 copies. Cool. I did the process, I learned, so that I can keep working towards it. You know, I learned very much with word search anthology that, you know, with bare minimum marketing, you know, I was able to make, you know, a couple bucks from that. I probably only spent like 25, 30 hours making that game. Not a whole lot of time. But I only made, I think I've sold 27 copies at $1 a piece. It's 27 bucks. You know, it's not a whole lot. I mean, I've gotten tips and stuff like that. So I've made a little bit more than $27, but, you know, 27 copies. Woo! So I'm hoping, I would like to beat that number, but, you know, 27 copies is, you know, let's see here. Let's bring up a calculator again. 27 at $5 a piece, $135. So if I sold 20 copies, $5 a piece, I'd make back my Steam, what's it called? Steam fee. I'd be happy to break even with the Steam fee, honestly, from this. So if I can sell, you know, 20 copies, then I can break even. That'd be great. Okay, let's finish this up, and then we'll get back into defining the actual game. So let's see, an end state here. This is just going to be oh, you know what we should do? Playtest data. Let's put here Lockfish. Let's add in a publish on itch. Yeah. So this is not going to be the final like paid version because it'll be buggy, it'll be all that fun stuff, but we'll be able to get it up on itch and use that as for our playtest base, and then we can go from there. Okay. So down here, let's publish on Steam. PUB on Steam. No, we don't want to publish it. That's going to be the next one. Oops. This is going to be Steam page ready. Ready for. Oh no. Let's make Steam page available. Because then we can start getting wish lists. We can start marketing. The 100 hours that I'm putting into this game, I am not including marketing. And what I'm going to do, and that might be under here, is I might delay the actual shipping of it because I want to do a marketing series. Because right now my marketing has been, self-pushed through Facebook and Twitter and Blue Sky and stuff like that. It's basically been targeted at game devs. And there's one thing that, especially if you're new to game dev, you come in with the belief of, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show it to all these game devs. Cool. I'm going to start building a base and they're going to buy my game. Most game devs love watching you make a game. They're not going to be buying your game. It's one thing I've definitely noticed is I've played a lot less games since I've got into game dev than I did before game dev. And it's because, you kind of feel, it's a weird feeling where you feel like you're wasting time playing games when you could be making one. But it's a weird thing. Plus, I have kids, they take the TV, I don't really get a chance. Plus the games I want to play are not appropriate for my children to see. Resident Evil, things like that. It's not great for a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old to be watching. So anyway, so we got our ship prep here. Let's see where if there's anything else here we want. We got a web build. This is going to be a Windows. Do we want to add in other platforms? Because by default, I'm just going to do, Windows. That's my target. I mean, that's where most people are. But maybe I'll, if I include Linux, if I do, Mac, stuff like that, that might be worth it if I have time. So I'm just going to keep that as a question mark for this one. Yeah. I think that does this. So that gives us our outline of our 100 hours and how we're going to play it. So let's go back and let's do this right here. I'm just going to add a new page. We're going to call this the GDD. I'm going to use my own style of this. And, let's go back here. Let's take these. We're going to start defining that stuff over here. Again, we'll zoom in here so we can get seen better on the stream. So let's establish like our number of heroes. I'm thinking I want to do 4 heroes in this game. I want to do, I want to do our classic ones. So let's do a rogue. Let's do a rogue. Let's do a wizard. Let's do some type of rogue. Could be an archer, wizard. We need a healer, so I'll put cleric in here because I like my D&D terminology. And then, do we want to use a fighter or we want to use a barbarian? Barbarian. I feel like that's a good start. A rogue, a wizard, a cleric, and a barbarian. When we get into the defining abilities, is going to be where these are going to set apart. Cleric's going to be able to heal people. Let's see, what else we have. We got barbarians could just basically be hurting people. Rogue will be sneaky. They're going to help if there's traps. Wizard's going to be ranged. Do we want... we can probably make the rogue ranged as well. Kind of give like 2 frontline fighters and 2 ranged fighters. I think that's probably a good scope. So let's see here. Let's do... let's see. Let's go to the monsters here. And I've already got some assets here, so I've got some general stuff. Let's start with, you know, our classic. Let's go with goblins. Let's go with skeletons. SKELETONS. There we go. Let's do you want to do 5 or 8? I guess we're going to have to go through here. Let's think about this. We're going to run through. Let's look at... Goblin skeletons. Need something kind of like more meaty. Let's look at what we have. Let's look at our assets here. Hold on one moment. Let's go game development assets. I'm using mini fantasy, so let's take a look here what I have for my mini fantasy assets. Let's see. We have got. Oh, this is heroes. I don't want heroes. Dragon hatchling. We got some. You know what? Let's look at the. Let's bring up itch. Let's look at the mini fantasy. Mini fantasy. Okay, so let's see here what. So we got some basic orcs or goblins. We've got a bunch of creatures here. Let's see what else we got here. That's the mounts. Monsters. Let's look at what's in this one. NPCs. Yeah, we've got let's go to view all. Okay. Scroll down here. Here we go. What do we got? We got some nightmare creatures. We've got some dark orc. You know, we might just want to focus on this. Because, I mean, look how many different... We got orc scouts, orc blades, orc rider, a warg. Then we got some feral orcs, so some slightly different types. Warbreed. I mean, these are all pretty... And then we've got, you know, their pale champion and a cave troll. So we've already got like some boss characters. We've got some more low-level fighter type characters. Some a little bit different style art. Yeah, so let's actually go back. Let's do that. Let's focus on just orcs. We're going to focus just on this dark orc army. Okay? So we're going to take this. Let's cut that. And come over here. So let's get rid of these entirely. Boom. And then let's do dark orc army. And then under it, let's see what we got here. We got some orc blade, orc scout. Orc rider, which we may not use because that doesn't, you know, we'll put a question mark. That may not fit in the dungeon. We got a warg. Again, that we may or may not use because, you know, we're going to focus on the dungeon here. A feral blade. We got a feral arbalist. A ARB AL arbalist. Feral berserker, feral phalanx. So I spell it PHALANX. I had an extra A. There we go. And then these will be the boss stuff. Oh, actually, no, we got a couple more. Warbreed blade. Arbalist again. Too many E's in that. Berserker. What else we got? Warbreed phalanx. Flail. I never could figure out how to say that. Phalanx. Okay, now our bosses. We have the Pale Champion and the Cave Troll. And a Cave Troll. Okay. Okay, so now we've got our ideas here. We've got, it's got an attack. This one has a couple different, it's got a slice. We might be able to give some other special powers. The one thing we don't have with this is we don't have spell casting with the enemy. So if those orcs don't spell cast, do we have enough? We also have the Dark Brotherhood now. That might be an expansion thing. We could also add in like one of these villains that could be in charge of the orcs. I almost feel like this guy right here, this demonologist. Yeah, maybe not. Necromancer. So many good ideas. We could have the Necromancer and it could raise the dead and make him come back and start attacking everybody. There's a lot of things we could do with that. So let's see here. Let's do... let's see here. Go back. Yeah, because that one had like skeletons and stuff like that too. Let's see. What else do we have here? So if we do that, do we take out the wizard from our heroes? And do we replace them with something else? Let's see here. We got other heroes. We have got... I own all of these assets, so then I can, actually use them here. We've got a blood mage. There's a ninja. That feels like an expansion. Same with this gunslinger. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here for heroes? Heroes. Where's the other hero? Here we go. Heroes 4, that's what we just looked at. Heroes 3. Heroes 2. Okay. So let's see. This is our base one. We have a barbarian, we have a druid, and we have the rogue. I love the rogue. I like the barbarian. Let's see what else we got here. We have a bard, we have a cleric, and we have a paladin. If we're going to make this melee only, we could also have a paladin and a dwarf. What's this other one? This is a elf ranger, and then this is the evoker, human wizard. I feel like we need to have... the ability to have spells. Is that going to eat into our 100 hours? That is a tough choice. So let's see here. I like the dwarf. Such a cool looking character. Oh, I really like these characters entirely too. And look, the dwarf's got this all-around attack. He's got some ranged abilities. Who do we have right now? Let's go back here and look. What do we got? Rogue, wizard, cleric, and barbarian. Such a classic list. Do we want to not adhere to the classic? I feel like we need to adhere to the classic. We need the healing, we need the DPS, we need the control for the wizard, and we need just the flat out hit me and I'm going to hit you back barbarian, I think. So I think we're going to stick with this. It might make it easier on us if our bad guys are all just melee based and they're, some of them melee / range. And then we don't have to worry about bad guy spells. That's going to help our scope. We're only going to focus on the hero spells. So that should help out there. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Let's think of our combat flow. First, how do we want to determine our turn order? Do we want to do a initiative? Do we want to do it via... I think initiative is probably going to be the easiest. So when something new comes in, we just roll initiative. Everything moves in initiative order. We need to think about how to deal with... do we just do... Do we deal with initiative as a linked list, or do we deal with initiative with an array? An array might be the easiest, because then we can just loop back. It's a lot easier to address that. Well, the linked list might be easier, because then we can just say who's next, and we can insert and remove. Oh, good question. Yeah, so let's do initiative. Initiative, and we're gonna make it. I'm gonna go with the D20 test right now. Okay, so we're gonna do initiative, and then let's try to keep this simple. We're trying to contain everything here within 100 hours, including this planning. So let's make it so we're just gonna do 2 actions. Everything's gonna be 2 actions. Okay, 2 actions, and our actions are going to be defined as move, attack. What else do we want to do? Move, attack. Is there anything else we need to do? Cast a spell. Okay. Move, attack, cast a spell. We're going to assign a reward for killing a monster. Is how you're going to get treasure. So we don't need to worry about searching. Or we're gonna have trap. We're gonna have traps. So let's have a disarm trap. We're gonna have chest. So how about open the chest? Okay. What else do we need? Do we need anything else? We need... That is a good question. I don't think we're gonna need anything else for this. Yeah. Okay, so that's our actions. Okay, and then, so how do we want to do attack? Right now, there is, Hero's Quest is roll X number of dice. They have, I believe it's 3 skulls, 1 black, which is a monster shield, and 2 white shields, which are hero shields. So every skull is the damage, every white shield is the player defending, and a black skull is the monster defending. And so when you roll based on whichever phase you're in, if you're defending as a player, if you roll any white shields, that blocks that number of damage. If you roll, if you're attacking, the number of skulls you roll is how much damage you do. Do we want to make our items based on number of dice? Or do we want to make it more D&D flavored, where this item does a D6, this item does, a D6 plus 1? Because this is going to determine how our combat flows. Is it more fun to roll more dice? Arguably, yes. But I think it's more fun to roll more dice when normally you don't have a lot of dice. That's D&D. The wizard casting a 8th level fireball is going to have that handful of D6s. That when normally you're only rolling 1 or 2 dice when you do damage. So if we build all of our stuff off of that, let's think about our bosses, like our cave troll. The cave troll is going to be able to roll like 4, D6s to defend. Chances are he's always going to block at least 1 attack. And then the player is based on, if it's 1 or 2, maybe even 3. I almost feel like what we need to do is plan for our playtest to have two different versions, where we do number of dice or we do, a standard D&D attack style. Problem is, though, if we build out two different versions of this stuff, it's going to take time. So do we just make a call now, do a fairly simple, this is D&D, you get a longsword +1 does an extra 1 damage. Might make balancing easier than the number of dice. But I worry that if I do that, then we're getting too much towards, I'm just remaking Tales from Candlekeep. And I don't know if I want to do that. I love Tales from Candlekeep. I really wish that game had, done better so we could have gotten more than just Tomb of Annihilation from it. But I feel like I want to try the dice like Hero's Quest. So we can base everything off a dice roll. And it's not just, because in Tales from Candlekeep, when you get, artists like Stupid High, he was always rolling +11. So every time you roll, it's like, yeah, I hit. Why am I even bothering rolling? I'm just making sure I don't roll a 1. It's kind of feels wasted. Whereas if we roll the number of dice, on average, we're going to be rolling, half of them are going to be skulls. Plus, that's going to require new artwork. I can't just grab HeroQuest dice. I don't think there's assets available for that, whereas there are for regular D6s. It's a hard question to answer, but I think we need to answer that before we go too much further. I feel like I want to do that. Because I feel like if we build it with the dice pool system first, it's going to be a lot easier to roll back to a number crunchy math version D&D than it would be to go from a math D&D version to a dice pool version. So let's build it out with a dice pool. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do a dice pool. X number to attack, etc., like that, and we can have. I'm just gonna put down the Hero's Quest stuff. So skulls, white shields, skulls X3, white shields X2, and then black shields X1. Okay. So then we can have them. We say, here's your body or whatever we use for our stats. We can just say, okay, this is how many dice you get. That's going to be, again, we're going to come back to our advancement, what's in scope and what's not. So we have initiative is based on D20, so we can figure out the order. I'm just going to put in here a linked list. Because the downside with like an array is if we lose track, if we insert a new element into the array somewhere up here, it's going to really cause some problems later. Because if we're on like turn 5 or array position 5 for the turn, and then we go up to the, we insert a new one at 2, we advance the turn. It's now the creature moved from 5 to 6, and now it's turn 6, and that creature's going again. So I think the linked list would be a better way to do it, because then we just, break this chain, insert the new monster, and then we can just keep going next to next to next. So I think that's going to be the best way to do that. We'll use an initiative pass to figure out where in the list, and then we'll add them into the linked list to figure that stuff out. Okay, let's see here. From there, let's do... okay, so that's a combat flow, dice pool, and then when it's all done, we need to reward treasure. So this is going to again come back into our scope of we're going to give out some treasure, so we need to make things equipable. We need items. We need to put items in our list. Okay, let's jump back over here to this. Let's go back into let's add this in here. Basic gameplay. Fight. There's our reward. So let's just make it gold right here. And then down here, we can also add in items. Okay. And then maybe we can have something to in between, you fight, complete this dungeon. You have a little quick town menu where you can sell your items and buy new ones. Something real quick and simple. Let's put that in here. Complete run. Town seller. Okay. Or town seller. Town shop. There we go. Exit to town shop. There we go. Okay. So then reward treasure, we'll have gold item. And we're going to have it as chance. So it may not, we'll probably do, 75% chance you get gold, 25% chance you get an item, something like that. Okay. Okay, so let's start establishing some guardrails. What is going to be our scope and what's not going to be our scope. I think this is going to be the key to us being able to hit the 100 hours on the dot. Shut that off. Excuse me. So let's see here. We want there's going to be no, I don't want to say, no story. There's going to be no overarching story. Overarching story. Is it overarching or overarching? Overarching? I think it's overarching because it's a story arc. Story arc. Arch. I don't know. I'm going to say no overarching story. There's going to be no level advancements. It's all going to be based on the items. Okay? So your character's only going to get better based on the items they get. If I ever do get around, if it ends up working out, people like it, we do a Dungeon Fodder Tiles 2, then let's add in, Heroes Quest has a 14 quest storyline. So we can add in the overarching story there. We can add in possibly level advancement. You get to X number of XP, you gain a level, you get more hit points. Stuff like that. Okay. Let's see. What else do we want to do? What else do we want to put in for guardrails to say this is where we draw the line? What other establishments do we have to say that this is not what this game is going to be, to try to keep everything in scope. So let's see here. We are doing, it's all 4x4. We want to do, So we have no overarching story, no level advancements. Let's keep it to, this is where I'm worried about, whether or not it's a viable project. If we keep it to one tile set, if we keep it just to the, if we go back over here to the mini fantasy, and we go to, it's probably down here at the bottom, dungeon. So if we keep it just to, this, oops, there we go. If we keep it just to this dungeon tile set, is that going to be enough to sustain a $5 game? $3 to $5. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to price it. Probably most likely with how scoped down I'm keeping it, might be $3, $3 to $5, somewhere in there. Definitely not above $5. So that's our goal. So where do we think that that's enough? I almost feel like the answer is yes. And I think that should be fine. So we can use this. We have traps. We have We got some dungeon debris stuff that we can put in there. We got some basic people, some lighting. It's got all these traps included, so we can definitely use those. We have treasure chests, fallen blocks, which is great because that's what Heroes Quest uses. Some simple orc stuff. Yeah. Okay, so let's stick to this single tile set. We'll just stick to this one tile set. So let's set that up here. One tile set. Okay. If we do a Dungeon Fodder Tiles 2, then we can add in more tile sets because there's a whole bunch of different ones there. We have a one tile set with terrain. Okay, this is going to be using 4x4 tiles. So if we go back here and we look at this, it's going to be, 4x4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd be like this corner here. I need to play around when we get a little bit further in because all of these are 2 tiles high. And what I would like to do is have the auto tile work out so then everything gets tiled properly. I've tried this in the past and I've had mixed success with it, but I'm going to attempt it again. I'm going to have to go back through and review my previous implementation of Dungeon Fodder when it was more of an RTS dungeon crawler and add that in. We got statues, we've got treasure chests, stuff like that. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to define its scope? Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. So what else is our game not going to be? There's no overarching story, no level advancements. It's all going to be tied to items. One tile set with terrain, 4x4 tiles. I mean, they're 8x8. It's the mini fantasy character, so we're going to stick to the assets that we have. I've already got the assets and the official music and sound effects that go with them. So I've already got that stuff. So that's going to save us some time. What else do we need to establish here for our scope? It's a drawn tile. We'll call it a tile stack game. Do we need to limit the number of tiles, or do we want to... No, I think that's fine. What else do we need? There's no multiplayer. Let's establish that right now. No multiplayer. Arguably, it has hot seat multiplayer, so if someone wants to sit in and say, I'm going to control the rogue, and you control the... paladin, or not paladin, barbarian. Let's do no customization. So we're not going to name our characters. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to call them, straight up barbarian, wizard, all that stuff. What else are we going to do? It's all turn-based. So this is all going to be turn-based. So there's no real-time stuff. There's going to be what else do we... There's no XP. We've already got that because there's no level advancements. There's no story, no multiplayer. What else do you need to do? If anybody's in chat, feel free to drop it in there. What am I missing that we need to restrain this from? I think we need... That's a good question. What else do we need to restrain it? I think... Let's come back here. We got escalation mechanic. Oh, yeah. We need... what else do we need? Test for players, locked features, bugs, balanced test data. Let's just put this in here. Establish scope. It's going to be a $3 to $5 game. Okay, on Steam. Okay, So that kind of gives us a, the idea of what we're shooting for. Something simple, something basic, something, small in nature. Allergies are killing me, even after I took an Allegra. Blah. So we define that. We need to establish our design data for the tool. So let me bring up, oops, hold on one second. Oop. Let me bring up, So what I have right now, and when I was playing with some stuff, is I have this tile creation tool. Whoops. Let's do editor to settings. Let's change this to 150%. So then, oops. Let's reboot this so then you can kind of see what I'm looking at here. So I have this tool that I kind of just like mocked up, and where we can just kind of decide, what's on here, if it's a locked door, a chest, a portal, a boss, an elite monster. None of this stuff is working. This was just me playing around trying to figure out how to make a tool, and then the JSON and all that stuff for it. But what I can show you is kind of what I have right now, and it's just a real quick, here's a 4x4 tile. We can move. You can add a tile. Again, this is just my idea testing when I was first working on this stuff. Was just trying to make something, an idea. And as you can see here, like if we run this again, what I was thinking was, because this entire thing is a terrain tile set with terrain data. So as I click add tile, it's changing the terrain data, then it's redrawing. So then everything's merging together using the proper tiles based on the terrain. And so it's drawing the right end caps and things like that. So then, and it's also updating, so then we can move to the right things. So this also works if I scroll out. This was, a lot of this was logic I took from my Game Jam games with both Dungeon Fodder and with, what was that called? Terminus Squad, where you play basically Warhammer Space Marines fighting some Tyranids. So that's the idea that I have, and we just have to kind of establish what the tiles and stuff look like. And I did this with Graph Paper Gauntlet, again, but those were scenes, and we rotated the tiles in those scenes. But if I do the scenes in this and rotate them, then the terrain data doesn't match up, and the tile gets rotated. So the tile set graphics get rotated, and it just does not look right. So we don't want to do that. So let's see, what do we need? Let's copy this over here. Let's add a page. We're going to put this in here. This is going to be our establish terrain tile data. Okay. So what do we need on our tile? We need the 4x4 grid. Okay. We need to establish, what's walls. We need to establish what's floor. We need to establish, what's the word I'm looking for? Openings, explorable edges. Let's call it explorable edges. So then we know, when we get to the edge here, we need to say, yes, we can load a new tile facing this. We also need an orientation marker. Probably to keep this simple, what I'll probably do is just design all the tiles facing up, and then, or even left, or one of those directions, and just say, okay, all tiles are going to be designed with the orientation this way. So then when I do the matrix rotation of the JSON data, it's going to keep it, that opening always facing whichever way that needs to be. Let's see here. So we need walls, floor, open explorable edges, orientation marker. Is there trap markers? If there's a trap on there, we need to know if there's a chest, treasure chest. I'll just call it chest. We need to know monster spawns. What else do we need? Let's think here. We need. Do we want? We don't want to do special tiles, with a couple exceptions. We want the start tile and we want the end tile. Something that's going to end the level. Oh, you know what? We should probably establish that back in our GDD. Or are we going to do a variety of objectives? Do we want to do escape the level, find the exit, or do we want to do the kill X monsters? Things like that for our objectives. That's a good question. Do you think we should do a variety? If you're in chat, feel free to chime in. Should we do a variety? I know it'd be more interesting, but if we, or should we focus on one or the other? Should we focus on just find the exit tile? I mean, that's basically how HeroQuest works. That's how D&D adventures work usually. Sometimes they have other objectives of kill all the monsters, save the villagers, things along those lines, but we're not going to go too crazy. Right now with Graph Paper Gauntlet, I had it as find the exit tile and step on the exit. You can keep exploring after you've found the exit and keep going and getting more and fighting more things. But then you can always just go back and hit the exit tile. So we might want to focus on just the exit. Yeah. Well, if we're doing a stack design, let's think about this. If we're doing a tile stack, we're going to randomly populate the tile stack. We go boom, 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 boom. And then we get to like the 12th tile or wherever it plays out to be. With D&D Adventures, it's anywhere between the 8th and 12th tile is where you hit or technically the 9th, I think it is. Yeah, 9th and 12th tile. 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah. Where you get to whatever the end room is going to be, whether it's an exit stair or an encounter with the boss, something along those lines. Where was I going with that thought? I've totally forgot now. Anyway, so we think about that. We'll use that in exit tile as the end. So then we'll go through the stack, and probably, as this is going to be a single player game and not multiplayer, you're not going to be moving minis and getting chips and stuff like that and putting them around. You'll probably move faster, so we might make it like 12 to 18 or something like that. Some randomness where it's going to be at the end. So what else do we need? We got walls, floors, explorable edges. We probably need some type of terrain. We need something to make it interesting. This is going to be in the polish section, but I'm still going to put this in here. And I'm just going to put it down in here as decorations. Because, if we go back over to here and we look, I mean, we've got all these torn banners. We got pots. We've got tables and chairs and, all this interesting stuff that really makes it look nice. I mean, if you think back to like Diablo, the original Diablo, I mean, it was a very basic squarish dungeon, but you had all the sarcophaguses that were scattered around. You had the sconces or whatever the tall candlesticks are. Can't remember what their terminology for those are, but we've got all that stuff covered, surrounded to add flavor, to add interest, something to look at. We can add in these torches and have them flicker, stuff along those lines. Doors. Doors. With this being a tile draw system, I don't really want to add a door unless it's on. We don't want to use doors, I don't think. I'm just trying to think here, because if we want it to auto tile, how are we going to make it auto tile a door? We would have to make it this square a special square setup, and this one a special square setup. And it can only be 4x4. But we don't have any, yeah, see, this is going to be the problem. We don't have any vertical doors in this tile set. So if we wanted to put a door here, we couldn't put a door because there is no vertical doors. We only have these horizontal ones. We could, because we have this tile, this door tile, we could replace a square with a door and go like, I think it was like old school Final Fantasy. I think that they had like doors were sideways. Stairs. Felt like it was, oops. Felt like they had sideways doors in one of these, but I'm not seeing it now. So, and of course it's not working, but yeah, we could do sideways doors or something like that. And I don't think I'd like that aesthetic. So I think we're just going to stick to the horizontal doors, because I think that's going to be a lot better design aesthetic. Let's see. We're at an hour and 23 we've been building. Okay. My voice is already starting to go hoarse. That's awesome. So we'll have to figure that out. Okay, so this is established, what do we need in our JSON data? It's a 4x4 grid. We have walls, we have floors, because those are going to be terrain. Explorable edges. Sound. We want sound on the tile data. Is that what you're suggesting? I'm not quite sure I follow the suggestion in chat. Just trying to think here. Because we're gonna have music for the dungeon. We're gonna have probably some ambient sound to give it like the dungeon feel, and then we'll have sounds, of course, for all the attacks and the monsters and stuff like that. Let's see. I think let's go back over here. Let's look at our. So we need the draw from the stack, placed in position. Oh, yes, tile set. Tile design schema. Yeah. Because if we go back over here, let me just show on camera, what I did in this. So we have the tile map set. So I have the two different walls and floors designed. So if I do walls, oops, let me bring it down here. If I did this with a wall, and we wanted to just put, floor in between, it automatically establishes all this stuff for us. So then, if we want to make like a room there, boom, we can just make it, and it, we can hollow it out or whatever we need to do, because it's all auto set with a tile, and then as things get drawn, we just send the JSON data, the ones, here's our terrain data. This is a 1 for a wall, a 0 for a floor. We can do some other markers and stuff like that. We're going to probably do some custom data for establishing, where a monster spawns. We have, this doesn't have the what's it called? The treasure chest or anything like that, but we do have like traps. So then we can, mark the floor different ways of, hey, it's a spike trap. We can set that stuff in the tile data. Probably what we'll do is in the tool, which what I'd like to do is this gray square is show the thing being drawn, you know, put it in our walls and all that stuff, and then we can put in mark. This will be a spike trap. This will be the monster spawn. This tile will be the treasure chest. So then when it reads the data, when it loads in the tile, it can populate that. The other thing I like to do, which I'm not going to do because I don't really have the time and the polish to get this working, is I would like to have the tiles kind of drop in, go boom, and like click into the board. Oh, actually, you know what? You have sound. Maybe a tile draw sound. I feel like, you know, we don't have that. I have the dungeon sounds, but I don't have like the game board sounds. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to take a sip and I'm going to go add those into my design document. I like that idea. See, this is why it helps having a live audience, because then they can help me think of things I didn't think of. You know, a game board design idea. Let's go over here. Where is our sound? Audio polish and fix. Here we go. Sound effect pass. Let's add in board game sounds. Yeah. So then we can have like things like, you know, let's just add in here tile placement, dice rolling, etc. You know, so the actual gameplay stuff. Talking for almost 2 hours straight. Wow, that really gets you. Let's see here. So we got that. We got that. We've got our tile schema. Let's see. What else do we need? Let's see. Go back up here. We're on this. So we established our 4 heroes. We established way too many monsters. I feel like we're going to have to go back and trim that list down. Combat flow. We established the scope. Established the tile design data. We established right now what we want. So we still have to design the actual JSON schema that we want. Do I want to build the tile tool? Or do I want to just brute force the tiles? I feel like if I build the tile tool and we have time left over in the polish, or not the polish, but the right here in the before this, the playtest and the feature lock, you know, the complete run, we can add in some additional tiles if I have the tool, because then it'll be a lot easier to just go, you know, here's a 4-way, here's a T intersection, here's, you know, whatever additional ones we want. Right now I have, let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I have like 19 on the graph paper gauntlet one that I already designed. So we could probably do more with that. Let's see. What else can we do? We could do... Okay, so let's plan out... Okay, so that leaves us right now. Let's do a quick check-in. We are at an hour and a half, I think it is. Hour and a half. Okay. And that gives us... We've got through A and sort of B. So if we build the tile tool and we do all this stuff... One other thing I want to address is right now I don't have... I don't have an artist for this, and I am not a very good artist. So, like, the stuff that you saw was ChatGPT, just so I have something for the stream and for the Dungeon Fodder Tiles logo. I just need something real quick to get up there. That's definitely not final. I kind of like the Dungeon Fodder Tiles image because it's very simplistic, but it is AI generated, and I'd much rather have a human created one. My graph paper gauntlet, it was oh my god, now I'm gonna forget the name. Hold on, let me go back and look. I do want to mention his name because he did a great job on this. Oops, zoomed in way too far. Rude Paul came back because I had an AI generated one, and he's like, hey, you know, let's use an actual artist one. And it's not very far off. Let me see if I can actually, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find the original one. Created assets. Think this was the one. Yeah, that's the, oops, didn't mean to do that. One of these days I'll figure out how to stream properly. So this was the original AI generated one. And, you know, missing an arm, you know, this guy's got 2, this thing's floating, you know, it gives a good idea. And I like that aspect of, I can now go to an artist and go, this is roughly what I'm thinking. Clearly you can see it's not great. But then when I give it to someone like Rude Paul and he comes back with this image, you know, where he's actually drawn all this stuff himself, added the erasers, you know, have a D20 that actually has the right numbers on it and not like repeated 20s or some make-believe imaginary numbers or something like that. It just adds just that much more to the look overall. And so eventually I'd like to find someone to help out with that. Unfortunately, you know, right now at the early stages, we're still, you know, not spending a whole lot of money on it. I've already spent way too much money on the assets. But, you know, if someone could come up with something and help me out, especially when it comes to capsule art, you know, I'm definitely willing to pay. I'm not saying that I'm not going to pay an artist for something. A lot of like capsule art stuff I hear is like $3,000. I was like, I'm anticipating the game maybe making back its Steam $100. You know, if it makes more than that, awesome. But I'm not expecting a whole lot from it, so I don't want to pay thousands of dollars for art, which the artist 100% should be paid for. But, you know, it's just it's not worth the ROI on this. You know, it's something that looks great, but no one's going to play it. It's not worth the investment. So, okay. So let's see here. Let's get, I think, what else do we need to do for planning? We have our milestones. Here's our 0 to 10 hours, which is what we're working on. We've defined the game. We got this data. We need to build. I think I'm going to build the tool tile. And then let's take the movement spawning. That's the next hour. So I've already got a lot of head start on this stuff. So let's move into actually building out the game itself. So let's go ahead. We'll get back here. We'll quit out of this. We'll start a new one. Okay, let's create dungeon fodder tiles. Actually, I can do colon in this because this is the title name. Tiles, here we go. Okay, version control git. Let's actually start the project. Let me get this into the right space. 2D, okay. So we've got that. Let's, before I get going too much further, and keep my idea testing right over here so we don't lose that. Let's get our Git repo going. Add, create new repository, choose dungeon fodder tiles. Here we go. And realize that I'm making this over here. Boom, boom, boom. Dungeon fodder tiles. Oops. Let's make it in. Is this in the right? Okay, yep. Getting myself all confused. Okay, so let's go ahead and push this up. Let's push this up to my stuff. Dungeon crawler board game. Okay. Okay, we have our repo established. We have our project base. Okay, fun. Okay, so let's start with start with pulling in those assets I need for this. So let's see here. Let's go to where are my? It's here somewhere. I swear to God. Ah, there we go. Game development assets, mini fantasy. Okay, we need the tiles, dungeon. Dungeon version 2. Here we go. Dungeon assets. Okay, so let's establish our folders here. Let's assets folder. Create a new folder. Let's call it tile map. We'll call it tile maps just in case. We'll bring in tile set. This includes some shadows. I don't know if I'll actually use the shadows, but we'll definitely use the tile set. I'm going to rename this one, though. I'm going to call it Dungeon Tile Set, just in case later we decide we want to add in some other ones. God forbid that we find free time in a 100-hour game. If we want to add in a new, snake, what do they call it? The lair of the snake people, serpent people, something like that. Okay. We also have some characters in here. We got some orcs. Create new folder. Tile maps. Let's call it sprites. Do I want to do it this way or do I want to keep it? No. I'm just going to call it sprites. I'm going to put general stuff here. Assets. Let's create new folder. Characters. And in here, we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it player characters. And that's going to be where we're going to put our players. Create new folder. Enemies. And inside the enemies, let's add in an orc folder. And for right now, I'm just going to bring in all my orc stuff that comes with the dungeon tile set. So then we have all the orcs and stuff like that so we can attack. Let's see. What else do we need to do? We got that. We're not doing any GUI work yet. We're not doing any of that stuff. Orc characters. We probably need a basic player character. So let's go back into our True Heroes. Where is it? True Heroes. Town. True Heroes 2. True Heroes 3. It's not what I was looking for. I was looking for just True Heroes 1. Where is it? Sorry. I know it's here somewhere. True Heroes 2, True Hero Assets. Here we go. Yeah. Player characters. Okay, let's do a create new folder. Let's do a barbarian. Wow. I just am loving adding extra letters to things today. A rogue. Not a rouge, a rogue. A cleric. And we did a wizard. Okay, so barbarian. We'll bring in all this. Got to download off OneDrive. It's going to take a second. Okay, so we got our barbarian. Let's go back up here and do our rogue. Oh, cleric. Bring in our cleric. Okay, and then we need the wizard, which I think was in True Heroes 3. True Heroes 3. Wizard. Yep, there it is. Okay, well, while we're doing that, let's go back over to our Kanban, Dungeon Fire Tiles. Let's create, we're going to do build tile maker tool. We're going to add in build tile map, build dungeon tile map. Put that into that. Save. What else do we need to do? We need to build tile maker tool, build tile dungeon map. What else do we need to do for this one? Edge detection. Add card. Edge detection. We also need to do tile stack. / draw. And tile placement. Tile placement. Okay. Save. Okay. So now we've got our like general animations here. We've got our whatever it's called, a barbarian here. We've got his general stance where he can stand around and hang 10, do all his fun stuff. Okay, so let's establish over here. Let's build out our scene. Let's see, how do I do this again? So we need to go up here, create a new folder. We're going to call it add-ons. Okay. And in the add-ons, create new folder and call it a tile editor. Okay. And then in the tile editor, we might need some, I don't think I'm going to need assets, but I'm going to need need to build the plugin. So I need a try to remember how to build the plugin now. It's been a while since I've done this. So let's build a tile editor GD script. Tile editor. Okay, and this is going to be an @tool file. And we're going to extend it. We're going to extend the editor plugin. Okay. Constant, we need to establish what the main panel is going to be. And that's going to be a preload. And then I'll have to build that scene out. And then we're going to do var main panel. INST. Wow. And we're going to enable the plugin. Oh, underscore. There we go. And then we're going to put in, oops, any auto loads we need in here. I don't think I have any I need right now. We need to add in the disable plugin. Make sure we have all of our stuff. This is remove auto loads. And we need to establish what happens when we enter the tree. And so here we need to do the main panel instance equals main panel dot instantiate. I feel like I misspelled that. instantiate. Every time I spell instantiate, I swear I misspell it. Okay, and then we need to do editor interface. Oops. Helps if I type editor interface dot add is it add root node? I'm trying to remember now. Get editor main screen. Okay. And then here we need to do the add child. And then we're going to add in our main panel instance. Okay. And then underscore make visible that's the enter tree. We need the function. We need the exit tree. If main panel instance dot queue free. Okay, and then function has main screen. Turn true because it does have a main screen. And we need function. We need the get plugin name. And we need to return. We're going to call this tile creation tool. We want to call it tile editor. Yeah, that works. Tile editor. Okay. And then last we need is function get plugin icon. Yep. And then we can return editor interface get editor is that icon? What is it again? It's get editor theme. Editor theme dot get icon. Wow, I cannot spell today. And then we want the which icon? Let's do it just a node. Node seems fine. And that's just part of the editor icons. Yep. Okay. Oops, hit the wrong button there. Okay. So that saves this. Let's see, what else do I need here? Oops, this is wrong size again. Okay. So we need to build the scene. So let's do a file. Let's do it's going to be a GUI. It's going to be a control. Let's call it a tile builder. No, we call it tile editor. Tile editor. Okay. Let's save that as add-ons, tile editor, save. Okay, so in here we're going to then do this. Okay. So we save that. And then we do this to this, I believe. Right? Is that what we do? No, this is a control node. That's not where we want to put there. Okay. Okay. What else do we need here? Boom, 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 boom. Extends control. Tile editor. Oh, you know what? Let's change this. F2. I'm going to change this. Tile builder. I want to keep my names Name's unique. So let's change this again. Tile builder. Okay, tile builder, tile builder. Okay, we'll save this. This is tile builder. Let's create a tile builder script that extends to control. Okay, this is also going to be in that tool script because we're going to run that. Unready, we need a var, we need a tile ID value. Let's just pull, you know what, let's save myself some typing. Let's just put this on here. Okay, save this. We need to create add child node. We need to do a tab container. Let's add in a control. And this will be a create tile. Create tile. Panel container. Margin container. Sub viewport container. Let's add in a sub viewport. Add in a node 2D. This is going to be where we're going to put in the dungeon tile scene. That's going to be a subchild of this. So we'll come back to that. Let's see. We need to add in a VBox container. Okay. Then in here we're going to have a label, and we need to have a tile ID value. What do we do? That is going to be a line edit, I think is what it's called. Line edit. There we go. So we can fill in some text. Okay. We're going to have, we're going to relabel all these in a second here. Let's add in HBox. HBox, VBox. This is going to add in a label. And then another option button. Okay. And then we're going to do, what, 2 of these? Yep, 2 of these. So let's double that. Okay. Okay, so we got the VBox here, HBox. The HBox has those 2. Let's add in another HBox here. H slider and a label. Okay. Then we need to add in one more. And this one's also going to be a VBox. Add child node, label. Wow. And then, what was that thing called again? The line edit. Line edit. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go through and relabel all these afterwards. I'm just building the structure right now. So we got those. Then we need this. So I'll close there. Close that. That's a note label. We need a text edit. We need another HBox. We need a button. This is our going to be a save and new. So, okay. And then we need one more label. Okay. And then we can add in our other controls. So this one's going to be our tile library, so we can see which ones we've built. And this is going to be our JSON inspector, so we can look at what data we're saving. Okay, so we've got this right now. So let's go back here, and basically I'm rebuilding the old one that I did before. Let's see, we're at 157. I'm going to just label this, and then I think I'm going to end the stream and take a break because I need to save my voice because I have to run a D&D game tonight. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's get this all mapped out. And okay, so we got the create tile. Okay. So let's see here. Let's make so this is going to be the tile preview. So we're going to change this to tile preview. Okay. So this is going to be where we're going to preview the tile to see what it looks like visually, and maybe even make it so we can click on it. But we'll see where we get. Okay. And because we're doing this with a 2D node, that's going to bring that in there. Okay. We still need to add the tile scene. We'll come back to that. This VBox container is going to be, this is going to be our tile ID. So let's call this tile ID container. And this label is going to be tile ID. And then this is going to be our tile ID, ID value. Okay. Then this VBox, this is going to be our, what do we want to call it? This, our encounter data? No, this is going to be our attributes, maybe? Let's call it attributes. Yeah, let's call it attributes. Tile attributes container. Okay. This is going to be our encounter type, our encounter table. Encounter type. Okay. And then we're going to label this as encounter table. Okay. And then this option button is going to be our actual encounters. I'm not going to populate that right this second. Okay. Tile ID container. Make that fit the width. Where's our main? Here we go. Make this fit the whole. Whoops. Yeah, let's control. Tab container. Fit the whole screen. There we go. That's better. Okay, here's our create tile box. Here's the preview. We'll probably make this 200 by 200. Make that easier. Tile ID container. This will be I'll do it that way, but we want to do it so it's, where is this one ends here. Okay, so we got that. Okay, and then this is, probably want to do a little bit better spacing. We probably want to do like a, almost like we want to do another H box, I think, right here. H box. So let's put that right here. We'll put the preview into this H box. And then we'll put the ID container also in the H box. Actually, you probably want to do another VBox here. We'll put the ID in the VBox, and then the tile attributes in the VBox. There we go. This VBox will just make it fill, expand. Why is this not giving me the full? Yeah, we'll figure it out after. Okay, so this will expand it vertically. No. You know what? Let's just reset this. Oh, the fun stuff of making GUIs. Always lots of fun. Okay. So let's see. Here's our create tile. Here is our HBox for the... Which one's this? Oh, that's why. This needs to be... full width. There we go. Full width. Okay. Okay, and then in here, this will be our tile naming container. Okay. Tile naming container. So we get the tile ID here. We got the attributes. Here's the attribute, the encounter table. And then over here we want, this is special element. Special elements. And this will be the counter table option. How about that? Counter table option. Counter table label. Special element. Special elements label. Okay. Special element option. Okay. So we got those. We need this. This fits. We need this and this to grow. There we go. Okay. And then we have down here. This label is, where am I here? Where I got myself confused. Okay. HBox container 3. So where we have the weight and everything, which is this one. Okay, so I think I have these in the wrong spot. So this 3 needs to go into the... Where's our VBox? Here's our VBox. VBox. Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. Tile preview. Tile naming. Okay. Tile ID elements. We want to put in the weight and everything like that. Also in this tile naming container. Okay, so let's take this. Let's throw that in the tile naming container. Okay. Okay, this is going to be a VBox container. This is our weight. So weight container. So this is going to be our weight label. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use this or not, but I'm definitely gonna include this for right now, just in case I want to do this later. But what I want to do is weight the tiles and say, like, you're more likely to draw a open 4x4 room than you are a dead end hallway. Because the other way you could do it would be like Dungeons and Dragons Adventures does it, is you just say, hey, you got 47 tiles. I gave you one of these, two of these, four of these. So it kind of gives it a weight. I want to kind of do it in a way that you can just, I don't know what you want to say, easily just scale it and say, yeah, I want this tile to be drawn more often. Okay. Let's see here. Just double check something. That's fine there. That's fine there. Let's see. What else do we have? We've got the weight. We've got the weight slider. And then this is the weight weight description. DESCRIP. So this is going to be like, if we want to say common, uncommon, stuff like that. It'd be a little bit easier just to kind of, so we know roughly what we're setting it at. And then we can add in, this one is the scene, we'll call it the override container. So in case we want to do something like maybe have a different, a special scene, like maybe the floor is different, or something we want to do that needs to be unique, we can just load up a new scene for it. I don't think we're going to use it much, but I'm just going to still have it in here just in case. Okay, so we got that. And then we want, the last but not least, we want notes, which is this. So we want to keep both of these, but we want to put those back into that container too. So let's put those in here. Okay. So label, this will be notes label. Notes field. So anything, anything I want to add in for notes, special, like this is testing, whatever I need to keep track of, we want to put that into here. We need to expand these also so that they are what is this? This is override. Oh, I forgot to scene override optional. There we go. Okay, so we got that, we got that, we got that. I'm just going to put in here just so we have some stuff. I'll do 5 is uncommon. Sure. That seems fine. Okay, so we got that, we got that, we got that. We got notes. We need the buttons. Where's our buttons? Is this our buttons? This is our buttons. Do we want the buttons to be in the container? I feel like we do. Let's put the buttons in the container. So let's put those into the tile naming container. There we go. Nope. Those got moved to the wrong spot. Tile naming container. Tile naming. There we go. Okay. We're going to call this the button container. Call it the save button and the new. Okay. Okay, and then this is going to be, do we have a V-box? We must have a V-box somewhere. Let's make these actually. Let's make them expand. Save to library. Create new tile. Okay. Okay, this is our red text when there's an error. And we want it to be under the library, so we need the VBox tile naming. Okay, so let's put this up here, tile naming. And this is going to be the F2. It's the warning label. Okay. Tile ID required to save. Yeah. And then we're going to set this up to theme overrides colors. Let's make it red. Make it bright red so we see it. Okay. Okay, so then if we just look at the scene. Oh, yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Let's disconnect this script for a second. Okay, so this is what our thing looks like. This is the preview of the tile. We type in the ID, we select our encounter, our special elements, our weight. I gotta adjust that so it works properly. Save, create new, errors. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back. Let's adjust that before I forget. Weight. Layout. Input. No. Oh, I'm not in the... I want to be on the slider. Here we go. Slider. Tick count is 1. Put them on the bottom. Okay. We want ticks. Editable, scrollable. Max value is... Whoops. Minimum value is 0. Max value is 10. Step is 1. Value is 0. Okay. Step page. How did I do this before? I did this. I did tick on bottom, tick position center. Okay. What else did I do on this one to make it look nice? Min 110, value is 5, rounded. Okay. Start at value 5, we do rounded. How did I get... I want the little hash marks. How did I get those in there? Layout, transform. Missing something. Editable, scrollable, ticks on bottom. Tick count 10. Oh, that's why. Okay. Don't save. Tick count is 10. There we go. Okay. So now we do this. Now we got, yep, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And as we scroll this, it will update this. Probably need to put a little bit more spacing between all this. Make it look nice. So let's go up here. Theme override, separation 10, 20. Let's look at that. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Save. Okay. Oh, let's see. Is there... I think we're just about hitting that. Yep, 216. Okay. Let's see. What else do we need to do? We got this. We need to finish putting it so that we can actually load it to be up here. Okay, let's see. We don't need this anymore. Close that. Don't need that. Oops. I do indeed still need my other one. So I can figure out the format of our of the tool itself. Tool builder GD. So let's attach this. On ready, line edit. Okay, so this stuff, because I copied it, I need to fix this. This is the ID value. So we need to find ID value, this right there. So let's take this out. Okay, so we got that. This is... So I'm going to actually load in... You know what? This is going to be... Let's take this out. I'm going to do something just to try to keep my script nice and neat and cleaned up. I'm going to put this as a unique name. Encounter table, this will be as a unique name. You know, I can probably just click through that, this, and that. Oh, we want this too. Okay, access those as unique names. And then let's go back and select all of these. Okay. And then let's bring those all in here. Tile ID value, did I not? It's right here. Did I not bring in encounter tab? Huh, for some reason that didn't select everything. Okay, encounter tab. What else do I need? Special elements. Oops, that's tile ID value. Yep. Encounter table. Okay, it did bring in everything else. Okay, it just, for some reason. So this is our warning label. This is our save button, which I did not bring that in. Let's add these in. Save button. Oops, save button. This is again our warnings label, so we can just warning label, and this is again the save button. Okay. So what this should do is right now that should be disabled because there's nothing here. But there we go. Okay. So we just need to set that by default on start. Ready. Here we go. There we go. So now it'll be disabled on start until we type in something, and then we can save it. Okay. So we got that. Okay. Let's see. What else do we need to do to get this as a plugin? We need the... we'll work about getting the scene in there in a second. We need a doc scene. Do I need doc scene? I don't think I need doc scene. Don't need that. I need the plugin.cfg file. Okay, so let's create that. Create new folder, scene, text file. Let's call it plugin.cfg. Put in the data, tile editor, tile editor.gd. Or is it tile builder? No, it's tile editor.gd, I think. Yeah. This is the actual plugin configuration, if I remember right. Yep. And then this needs to be tile builder. Okay. So this is the actual editor. This is the plugin saying we use that script. Okay. So we save that. Now if we go project settings, plugins, we enable it, close, tile editor. Hey, okay. Cool. But is that how this worked? No, that. How did this? So let's see here. This, when we clicked on the tile creation tool, wow, this is, my mouse is not having a fun day. Okay. We seem to have lost my mouse. Why did my mouse go away? Okay. So we do have the tab there, that there. Okay, so I think I just need to add some spacing in. This is really hard without being able to see my mouse cursor, so I have no idea why it did that. Okay, layout node. Okay, we'll just close this out and then we'll... Hey, mouse cursor's back. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back over here to our 2D scene. Let's get up here and let's do tile builder. Let's bring it down just a hair bit, like right there. Save. And then if we do project, reload current project. Okay, why does it not... Why are the tabs not where they're supposed to be? How about if we do this? Okay, well, I'll have to come back and figure out why that is doing that. Because this should not be... There we go. Okay. That was just some weird setup. Okay, so now we have a tile editing tool that we can use right within the editor, and then we can save everything. Okay, great. Oh, wait, what's going on? Why is this on screen now? Did I accidentally dock it down here some? I did, didn't I? Okay, now I've... Oh boy. How did I do that? Oh boy. Okay, don't let people who don't know what they're doing create plugins. Because all I wanted was this. I didn't want it to be down here. Okay, well, I'll have to figure that one out. I'm probably going to do that one off screen. But let's go back over here. We've built the tool itself. We have to build the tile map scene, and then we can call that good. Where are we at for time? Let's look at our time. 2.5 hours. Okay, that sounds like a good place to take a break here. We've done a lot today. We did we built our entire milestone roadmap here. We have 10 hours to finish building this tool, to build some tiles, to figure out the edge detection, and to be able to draw them and place them on the game board. So we were definitely going to be 7.5 hours. I think we can get that done. We've designed our real basic GDD. We've identified what heroes we're going to have, what monsters we're going to include. This is almost certainly going to get cold. We're gonna scale this way back. I don't know exactly what we're gonna keep. We'll probably end up keeping we'll definitely keep the 2 boss characters, the Warbreed, and maybe what we'll probably do is we're going to develop these as 4 separate monsters, and then these will be the same 4, but they'll just have different hit points. Some export values that we can use to end up creating 10 different monsters instead of just 6. So, and then we've established this. I still have to get the tile map built out, but then we'll be sitting in a good spot. So Kanban, we've built the tile maker tool. We have not finished it yet. So we've got more of this stuff to work on. But for right now, I'm going to hit stop on this. So we've put 2.5 hours roughly into our 100-hour game. So only 97.5 to go. But thank you all for everyone who joined me. I'm going to, my goal is to every 10 hours, I'm going to have a check, basically like a checkpoint. We're going to make sure that we hit our milestone. Here's the end. And what I'm going to also do is chop all this up into a smaller, 10-minute, give or take, YouTube video. So then people can just kind of get the highlights of 10 hours condensed down into 10 minutes. So, but if you liked what you see, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or something, feel free to reach out, send a comment on the channel, on the live stream, or, join me over on the Michael Games. Or I have not made my Discord server public yet. Maybe I will eventually, but right now I'm keeping that locked down to students who are enrolled in my class. But again, thanks for joining me, everyone who did, and we will see you next time.